Yo, my guy Laurent.
Uh-huh. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome back. Welcome back. We got CJ in the building with me today. Or should I say tonight? What time is it? It's about 10 p.m. I think we have a game going on. Murdad's not here, unfortunately. Duty calls on his end, right? You can call him Jeremy Doku. But yeah, no, he'll be back with us on the next one for sure. But all that, man, it's great to be back and to have all our subscribers here with us again. So yeah.
And for those who haven't already, make sure you do like and subscribe because if you haven't done so already, what the hell else are you doing? We're bringing you the best of the best, you know, in terms of information, entertainment, laughter, tears, banter. Um, and I say tears because right now it's mostly tears from anybody else who is not an Arsenal fan because you're now watching and listening at the home of the Premier League champions. So the tears that we are drinking are not Arsenal tears. It is indeed other teams' tears. So cheers, everyone.
Damn. First of all, that is fucking disgusting. Like out here drinking beers from a cup with no shame, bro. That type of shit you see in horror movies nowadays. But anywho, um, yeah, man, this episode will be slightly different. We're gonna cover a lot of the fixtures, right, that happened in the World Cup from our last recording. We'll also for those games, right, where we have those Arsenal players, we might go in a bit deep in terms of player performances there, and then as well as the different controversies, right, were the talking points from the World Cup. But yeah, so that's pretty much how we're going to go about it for this episode. So, CJ, take us away.
Yeah, man. Listen, before we get into it, um, how are you even feeling about just generally, like forget World Cup, just maybe taking things back to club football for a minute. Like the transfer window is obviously open. Are you thinking about anything like Chelsea related at the moment, or are you just kind of taking your mind off Chelsea and just focusing on other things like the World Cup, life itself, because some would say there's bigger things to life than football. And if you're a big football enthusiast, you may disagree. Some people, football is literally your life, right? And yeah, like your club is your life, and in a lot of people's cases, depending on wherever you live around the world, depending on your affiliations and such. Maybe if you're a Chelsea fan, this past season has really affected you. And I'm saying that because, as an Arsenal fan, I've had past seasons where, we've performed really poorly. It's been a bad season. We've finished eighth, etc. And the summer has just been horrible because it's like the transfer window's open. You're just kind of staring and looking at your club and hoping for big signings and hoping they get shit right. On the other side of the coin, this season, this time around, as an Arsenal fan, we've just won the league. I'm happy. I'm excited. And the transfer window is here. But for the first time in a long time, I find myself very relaxed about the transfer window and very relaxed about the transfer situation. Whereas in previous windows, because like I said, we've had underwhelming seasons, I'm already looking at what, the recruitment team is doing and saying, yo, make sure you get this player in, that player in, because we need to start the next season strong. I'm looking for a bounce back season. Right now, I'm relaxed. Like, yes, hopefully we bring in big players, but I'm not really looking too tough. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm relaxed about the situation coming off of the high of the Premier League. So yeah, in your case, I'm just curious to know like where you stand at the moment. I know you naturally have a very relaxed demeanor, but are you, kind of taking your eye off of Chelsea? Are you already looking ahead to next season and seeing how you guys can improve? Like, where are you at with that?
Well, I mean, if I'm being completely honest, yeah, I would say that for the most part, um, I'd say about 80% my focus is on the World Cup currently. About 20% I check here and there to see if there's anything news related, right, to transfers and whatnot
Hmm.
regarding Chelsea. But even then, right, there's not much. Uh, it's really not much activity. And I think it's how remember that phrase it on the last episode, right? That mostly teams seems to be waiting until the competition unfolds, right? until they look right to kind of swoon in for said talent
Mm.
during this competition, right? But yeah, like I said, um, in Javi Alonso we trust. So yeah. I'm sure we'll get everything we need to get for next season.
Well, funny enough, we actually have the fixtures are released, right? And if you've been checking the fixtures, you'll notice that within the first three games of the season for both sides, we play one another, Arsenal versus Chelsea at the Emirates, third game of the season. So we don't have to wait too long for for the heat of the banter and the shit talk and the pre-shit talk that's going to come ahead of that game already. We don't have to wait too far into the season for that. So what a treat that is for us and the viewers who will tune into this episode, this podcast regularly and hear the back and forth between us. In the first month of the season, you're already going to get a lot of heated exchanges, I'm sure, particularly between Murdat and Laurent when it comes to the Arsenal Chelsea stuff. So, listen, man, are we going to get an early gatherings link up? Because shout out Gatherings Resto Bar. If you know, you know. If you're in the Toronto-based area, we go there to watch games at times. Arsenal matches. Like Laurent will show up to hate watch. Um, but yeah, we haven't gone to the gathering since the Carabao Cup final, I believe, which was the loss. Arsenal lost the Carabao Cup final to City. So I was kind of wondering, and I was even going to ask you when the next time
That I
we're gonna.
remember.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Um, so yeah, no, I was wondering when we're gonna get to go there next. Even our fans, and our people that we've met recently. Shout out to those that we met at the event the other day, the other Saturday. Said they go to gatherings and they'd like to link up with us there and whatnot. So yeah, I was just kind of wondering when you think that we can get to go there next, because it would be nice to go there and show out. And maybe this would be the next best opportunity. We should bookmark this game, Arsenal Chelsea, for us to link up for the gatherings next. You
You
about
know
that or
what?
not?
Yeah, I think it might be. Um, Now again, for as a Chelsea fan, it is quite too early to even speculate or to even attempt to trash talk, right?
Good
Because our
choice. Yeah.
situation, we're in disarray at the moment. Um, but depending on well, it's you guys are a third game, correct?
Yep.
And yeah, actually, I do think our first two games aren't as difficult. Well, they're not difficult teams. I don't know if we got Fulham, one of those. I'd have to check again. But anywho, yeah, depending on how those goes, and our personnel, right, the style of play and all of that, you might see a 1-2 trash talk from me, right? And who knows, maybe we get Dana White here, and Murad and I can go, head to head, lace him up, and then we all meet at gatherings on that day, and yeah, man, get ready for war. But other than that, I think yeah, it's too early on the Chelsea side, right? But yeah, hoping for a good game either way.
Mm. Well, it seems like a long way away. It is 2 months away, and there's a lot of football to be played beforehand, and there's a lot of movement in the transfer window to happen beforehand. Um, so considering that that is a topic for another day, the here and now is obviously the World Cup. Since we last spoke, or since we I guess all got together on the podcast to talk about it, there's been a lot of games. Um, at this point, obviously everybody's played in the tournament. The last time we got on a pod was right before the France round of fixtures. France beating Senegal 3-1. Argentina obviously played that same evening 3-0, and then Norway beat Iraq that day 4-1. So I guess in those games, some of the big talking points were the big stars showing up all on that day, right? Mbappe got his couple. Um, Erling Haaland scored two against Iraq that same day, and then later on in the night, Messi showed everyone what he's still about, getting a hat trick against Algeria. So the stars are coming to the party, huh? The stars are really coming to the party in this World Cup, which is nice to see, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's sad that Ronaldo didn't get the invite. Um, but
Jeez.
yeah, for all you Ronaldo super fans out there, right? Come on, man, leave Bruno Fernandes and João Neves alone, right? I see you in the comments talking about this and that, bro. Listen, your guy is 41, right?
Mm,
41 for a striker. That is unheard of, right? For the most part. I feel like it's probably, but like because that position too, especially if you've played a certain way and you depend, um, you know what I mean, on certain attributes for your game, it becomes very hard, right? Because usually the opponents, right, the center backs, the fullbacks, and even the other players, right, they're half your age, more energy, right? They got good strength. So yeah, I think at that point you truly have to depend on more so your IQ of the game, your positioning, right? These other things to get that edge, right? But at the end of the day, you have to give him credit, right? To even be in that position at that age, um, it's respectable.
Well, should he be even in that position at this age? Does any other player get picked, or is he just picked based on merit, on name, on brand? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely, I would agree. 100%. Um,
Let's be honest, you and me might have more movement and more running playing up top right now for Portugal than Mr. CR7. Now I know
yeah,
that's gonna offend a lot of fans. Everybody just calm down, you know.
mm,
There's a lot of CR7 fans out there, and listen, I think we should all admit, right? Whether you're a fan of him, hater, I don't know, man. To me, maybe me and you might share the same views on this. But to me, bro, it's like, yeah, there's an old saying that you got to leave the football before the football leaves you, man. Because it's kind of sad to see. I think I predicted Portugal to get to a final, mind you, in our brackets, and
mm,
but I didn't think it was going to be playing this way. You know what I mean? If they keep continuing to play around Ronaldo and try and make Ronaldo the focal point, and they aren't going to get to a final, in my opinion.
mm, right, right. No, I agree. I agree. Um, and it's a shame. It truly is a shame because on one again, it's a top player that we're talking about, right? I feel like a lot of people are dismissing what he's done prior to even, you see what I'm saying, like getting to that point. Um, and yeah, I know it's. eh, I think it's also the fact that and I was having this discussion one of my buddies, right? And I listen, I even made the point that if Messi was his age, because Messi's what, 38,
39.
39, all right, so 2 years. And if Messi was in that same position as Ronaldo in the striker position,
Hmm.
um, and let's say Messi wasn't permitted to drop as deep, you know what I'm saying, to collect the ball in the midfield, I think it could be hard for Messi to score. You see what I'm saying? Like he wouldn't have. I don't think he'd score three against Argentina if that was his position. Sorry, against Algeria, if that was his position, right? Because as a striker too, you're depending on service. Um,
Hmm.
and again, right? Depending on how you're getting that service, right? If it's a ball over the top, now you got to use the pace, right? All of that. And at that age, right, it becomes very hard, right? So he definitely has to pick his spots. He did have two opportunities in the box. Um, I think one of them he could have actually let it run for Bernardo Silva, like
Hmm.
dummied it. Sorry, for Bruno, and he could have scored off that. But yeah, the manager has some work to do. He did say that after this game, the starting 11 is no longer set. I don't know if you heard of that. But
Oh,
he
is that
made it
what he
clear.
said?
Yeah, he made it clear that yeah, the starting 11 is no longer set. So who knows what that means
Yeah,
for Ronaldo, right? But a guy like that, bro, he wants to play. If he doesn't
of
play,
course.
you're gonna see him on the sidelines, pouting his lips, doing Ronaldo things like so. Yeah. Fun fact, actually, on Poly Market, for those of you who know what that is, right? That we don't endorse betting here, but apparently there is a prediction there that you can bet on whether or not Ronaldo's going to cry this World Cup. So
Mm.
yeah. For those of you who he loves to do that. You remember the last one, the last World Cup?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
Oh, Salah just scored for Egypt. It's 2-1 currently. Egypt against New Zealand.
oh, see, Egypt are up too.
Egypt were up. Yeah, they were down one, and now they're up 2-1. Two quick fire goals. Salah just scored to put them up 2-1.
Nice, nice.
So yeah, the big stars are showing up again, except for a certain Ronaldo. But
Mm,
listen, again. It's all banter, right? For all the Ronaldo lovers out there, we do appreciate the man that is Ronaldo, the legend that of the game that he is. But yeah, man, like I said, I think at the end of the day, right? It's sad to see. You don't want to see him go out this way, and that's why, again, I do agree sometimes with the saying that you leave the football before the football leaves you. You know, he's got to make the sacrifice, in my opinion, to say for the better of the team, take
Mm,
yourself out of the limelight. Um, you know, truly, and yeah, just be more selfless as opposed to selfish. Um, you know, because that team is also too good and too talented to still play around him. And that's John Neves said that, right? If I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you heard John Neves's quotes, but he was saying basically this team is obviously more than just Ronaldo.
mm, right.
So, and I think he's been getting a bit of heat for that. I'm paraphrasing, but I think that's pretty much what John Neves was saying.
Mm,
He appreciate Ronaldo as a player, etc. He's been a good player, but you know we have a lot more talent on this team than just that, you know. So yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in that camp. But otherwise, like I said, by now we've at least had a minimum full round of fixtures of seeing every team play. So who's standing out to you at the moment? Who are you most impressed with?
Ooh, team wise, I'm gonna say from the underdog's perspective, Ivory Coast.
Really?
Yeah, that team, especially the Germany game, even though they lost. So it was the Germany game and then the game versus Ecuador,
Yeah,
which we did cover. But that Germany game, bro, like from the get-go, they were on it. Uh, and they have good defense. I think solid defenders. Midfield looks good. There's even that one guy. I think his name is Christ something. Schroeder guy, right? He was bossing it in there, like
mm,
crazy. And then the wingers. You see, right? You have Ahmad on one side, and then Joe Monday. Even though some would say he didn't have the best of games, um,
I agree.
yeah, to the point where a lot of people are laughing at Liverpool's bid for 100 mil, saying he's not worth that much, right?
So they actually bid 100 for him?
Yeah, yeah, and it
Wow.
was refused. It was refused.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, no. So for me, Ivory Coast. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, they could have won that game. I don't know if you saw how I think it's Singra,
Adingra.
Adingra, sorry, how he sold, bro. Like how the that was bad, bro. Like Pep Pepe did all that work.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He sets you up, and you do that. Ah, man. And you know if he puts it in the back of the net, then I think that game is sealed off, right? And now they automatically qualify to the next round. But yeah, Ivory Coast look a very solid team. And again, this was against Germany, right? Which are no pushovers on their own. They made it very difficult for them. And the press too, where the amount of times Germany lost the ball uh, um, in the eighth position,
Hmm.
where it was the defensive midfielder, right? Because they knew how to press. And that's what like that's the beauty of pressing it because when you press collectively and you time your press, right? Because you also gotta press at a time where even for the opponent, he thinks he has more time than he does. You
Hmm.
see what I'm saying? And you allow him to kind of drop the ball a bit, right? And then suddenly now he's being closed down by two, and he makes the wrong decision, and yet you get the ball, right? So to me, they look a very solid team. Yeah. What about you though?
Mm. So for me, it's France. Maybe that's an obvious, boring cop-out answer, but it is France because, yeah, man, like they're just too good. You know me, sometimes I get excited when I see obvious talent. You know, I've said a couple outrageous things in the past, like when Real Madrid signed Mbappe, and I said, oh, that's it, they're gonna win for the next however long. And you know, same thing I guess with Liverpool last season when I made them favorites to win the Premier League after they signed, you know, Isaac and Verts and all these guys, right? Sometimes I see all that talent and I'm like, yeah, well, surely it's just impossible for anybody else to win but that team. You know what I mean? So for that reason, I have France as the team to beat. Again, yes, I see all these other sides, but I just look at that firepower with France's team, and I just say, yeah, man, it's just inevitable. They're inevitable, and this is how I see them winning is because I see, you know. In that game against Senegal, Senegal is no slouch, by the way. We're talking about the AFCON winners, despite you know the controversy that said otherwise in that tournament. Um, tried to snatch their chain and take that title away from them. But to me, Senegal are the winners of AFCON. And yeah, man. So we're talking about the current African champions, and they're no slouch. That's a good side, that Senegal team, right? And they were in that game up until halftime and the other side of halftime. But eventually, that France team wore them down, right? And that's what you get when you have quality. And that's why I can see them winning it and going the distance because you can be in a game up until halftime. You can be in a game up until 60 minutes, 70 minutes, but they just find that extra bit of quality because they have that bit of quality to wear you down. And we're going to touch on this shortly because me and you had this conversation offline, right? The Champions League final and what happened in the end, inevitably with PSG winning against Arsenal. Um, and yes, actually, Arsenal made themselves competitive, and funny enough, that one could have gone either way in the end after the penalty shootout. But similar kind of thing, right? Where you can hold a team that's so good for so long, but at the end of the day, star quality will tell in most cases. And again, that Senegal team, they're a very good side, right? Let's not get it twisted. They're a very good side, but as you saw in that second half, the quality just shone through, right? Like Elise, of all people, just turned up. He just flicked the switch in that second half. He went up a gear and he broke the deadlock with that obviously that beautiful ball in behind to Mbappe.
Mm.
And then yeah, the game opened up obviously. Um, just when you thought that Senegal got a good goal coming back into it, late in stoppage time. Almost you blink immediately after Mbappe goes and gets that wonder goal, that third strike from distance, and it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, what I mean? You just have to tip your hat to individual quality, and players at that point, right? And the players that they're bringing off the bench, right? Barcolas and Ryan Cherkis, it's just like it's too much, man. Like, at some point you just, again, when you're playing a team that good, I feel like not even Arsenal's back line can, hold that for 90 minutes, man. It's tough. It's tough to play against. And that's why I think, whilst you bring up the point of the Ivory Coast and they could have got something against Germany, um, again, it's the quality, it's the star quality that shines through, right? And we see this as fans of the Premier League and of fans of teams who play in the Premier League. We have Premier League listeners and viewers. This is the difference in the Premier League as well. It's the same thing. We said this offline right before we started recording tonight. Everybody can defend. In the Premier League, everybody has got a good mid block, a good low block, right? Even the worst teams in the league have, a good defense. But what's the difference in the Premier League for the most part? What's the difference in Champions League? It's the star quality at the top end of the pitch because everybody can defend. Everybody's professional. You're set up with professional coaches, a professional structure to defend and to hold a team out. But there's only so much you can defend against individualism and individual brilliance. And yeah, that tells in the Premier League, and that tells, I think, even in these competitions as well. So as much as you say Ivory Coast, they could have and should have won it, I'm not surprised in the end because you saw the difference. It's being clinical in the final third. Whereas Adingra only needed one touch to put that away, he decided to take the extra touch and it cost him. You saw what happened in the other end. Look what happened in the other end. Undov, first touch, second touch, bang. That was almost like a training. Bro, he acted like he was in the training ground in that moment. You know what I mean? Just touch, bang, bottom corner. That was a clinical, like, let's not sleep on the technique and the quality for that finish. First of all, the ball into him was brilliant too from the midfielder.
Mm.
But then the way he took that touch and just slotted it away, that's the difference between these teams, who are, sort of hanging around the mid-table area or, mid-level in terms of the World Cup status, and then the superpower nations of the World Cup, the Germanys, etc., France's, and so on. That's the difference that tells in the end. It's the star quality, I think, at the top end of the pitch. And so I think ultimately, it's yeah, I'm glad you point out the Ivory Coasts of the world and those teams that stand out to you because we all love an underdog story. But I think, the big teams, when it comes to the latter stages of the competition, you're going to see the same familiar names. Hopefully, we have a different case, but yeah, that's just what it seems like to me because the star quality of the top end of the pitch is what tells in the biggest of games, in my opinion. And I think that leads us on nicely to getting on to again, we're bringing it back a bit, Portugal versus Congo. Me and you had obviously a debate offline, and you're referencing a lot of similarities between Portugal and Congo, that game versus the Champions League final, right? PSG against Arsenal. And you thought that your side was brave, at least a bit more brave on the day than what Arsenal was in the Champions League final. Um, so we can touch on that a little bit because again, it's a similar kind of thing, right? And the point that I want to raise to you, right, just for the sake of the viewers, we can fill them in on the debate that me and you had because it's an interesting debate. My thing was, so you said that we were less brave in that Champions League final, and Congo showed a little bit more bravery. At least the stats show that. And my debate to you was the game state, right? Obviously, I think if that game was 0-0 for most of the game,
Mm.
in the Champions League final, you would have had to see Arsenal come out more because you can't win a Champions League final nil-nil. But I think us scoring early,
Mm.
at that point, we leaned on our strengths. Right or wrong, Arsenal playing, leaning on their defense and the defensive structure has gotten us as far as it got us last season, right? It got us to the over the Premier League, over the line in the Premier League. It got us to another Carabao Cup final. It got us all the way in the Champions League, even. Even those sides that we were expected to be, right? Bayer Leverkusen's of the world, Sporting Lisbon, they weren't even great watches. We didn't look that great in attack, but we got our goal. Even Atletico Madrid as well. We got our goals or our one goal in those games, and then we just kind of saw it out with a good, solid defensive structure. And I think the Champions League final went a similar way. So it was almost like I didn't expect Mikel Arteta to change all of a sudden for a final and change what has gotten us there up to that point for that season. Next season, me and along with other Arsenal fans, we're going to expect a lot more in terms of our style of play. I don't expect us to continue to try and see out games 1-0 next season. That's just not going to work, in my opinion. But I think the way that game panned out, again, when I mentioned the words game state, I think going up 1-0 early in that game forced us more to lean on our strength, which is to hold that lead and to try and see it out. Um, Whereas I think you were making the point that, you know, Congo showed a little bit more bravery and et cetera. But I think, again, the game state for that was that you guys conceded quite early on. So you had to come out of your shell a little bit more. And then when it got to the second half in that game, you realize that, a point would be a good result, which is the case for a side like Congo. You started to retreat a little bit more deeper into your shell. Portugal came onto you guys a little bit more, had a lot of good possession, but didn't do too much with it. And then you guys did try to take some chances on the break. But that was the natural pattern of that game. And for me, there wasn't too many dissimilarities between the Champions League final and the Congo versus Portugal in that case, to be honest with you. I felt it was two sides who knew they were inferior. Some showed a bit more bravery than others in certain game states, but in the end, the dominant team, would try and prevail and have the most possession, most of the territory in PSG's case, and then in Portugal's case for your game. So, but yeah, listen, take over and explain to me what you were getting at when you were trying to make the comparison between those two games.
Okay, so
I know I said a lot there, so maybe it's hard to dissect, but
yeah, no, 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 I mean, again, right, I definitely acknowledge, right, also when you do mention the game state, right, as it is an important point to factor in. Um, but okay, so my so even when I look at a few of the games that have been happening, and as well, there was one commentator, I don't know which particular game it was, but he made the point essentially that you cannot allow a team to get comfortable with the ball. You see what I'm saying? Especially when if you know that right there they have some form of technical superiority, right?
mhm.
Or even right like they have like quality players, right? And I feel that the more you allow yourself to retreat, okay, the more you allow the other team to get into their flow, right? Like just purely off like on a psychological standpoint, right? Because they get more touches. More touches means more comfort, right? Um, like it validates like each player that okay, this pass, right? I can do this, I can do that, right? Um, so I feel like for one, right, just as a starting base for any team, and I feel like in any contest, right? Yes, you acknowledge, right, if there's a skill gap, right? If the opponent is better than you in certain domains, but you have to remember that the first thing is psychological. Like the battle is always psychological. If you get your opponent to lose a psychological battle, I'm telling you, no matter how good you think that guy is, you see what I'm saying? That guy, right, is going to eventually like get in his own head or that team, right? They're going to start overthinking things, right? And I think well, in the case of Arsenal, right, and yes, I'm acknowledging the game state, right, where you're saying, okay, we did score in the 6th minute, I think it was, or something like that,
Something like that.
right? Yeah, early on. Um, and then you're saying, okay, well, when then we start to lean on our defensive abilities, and I think that's when PSG started to really go at it, right? And then
Mm.
the possession stat, all those stats kind of started to go into their favor. Where for me, I see it as do what it takes to minimize as much as that as possible. Do you see what I'm saying? Where even if you're not necessarily willing to open yourself up too much, but you do not allow them to get that degree of comfort that they had in that final. If you see what I'm trying to say, right? Um, and I think there are ways to go about it, right? Also with minimizing the risk to the downside, right? Uh, whereas I felt like when I was watching the Congo game, for one, I will say this, and I did tell my dad this as we're watching this live. When Portugal scored, right? And I think yeah, they scored in the fifth minute. I think that's
Yep.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they scored in the fifth minute. And I told my dad this. I was like, because everyone, like you're watching this and you have like the aunties and all of that. Everyone, and
Freaking
you
out.
hear, yeah, you hear the sighs and all these reactions. And straight up, I told my dad, listen, this is to me, this is perfectly normal. It's a team one that hasn't been in the World Cup in over 50 years. Players are nervy. You can tell just by the start of the game, right? You can tell that there's a certain nerve and anxiousness to the way
Mm.
they're playing, right? Um, allow them to settle in. You see what I'm saying? Allow them to, all right, okay, right, this is how World Cup feels, right? Allow them to breathe the air in and relax. And then you'll start to see that they'll get into their groove of things, right? The players will start to naturally play. And after that goal, right, that's kind of what started happening. You started to see that, there's a certain calmness, passes were working, and they looked a lot more relaxed, right? Um, and yeah, so the game state there is we're down 1-0. Obviously. We equalize around halftime, right? Now, at that point, okay, we can say that the game state is leveled, right? Just like it was leveled with you guys in the 60 something minute
Yeah.
from the PK. Um, I still feel like on our end, we we did not allow them to. Listen, you can tell me, right, if you have a different view on it, but we did not allow them to get into a certain rhythm or flow. Like it was like, and for one, I have to credit the fullbacks as well. Um, I think Wan Bissaka did a phenomenal job. I'd say even man of the match performance for me.
Mm.
Because Neto pretty much locked, and then who comes in? Leao
Mm.
locked until he got substituted off, Wan-Bissaka, and the guy who came in after that locked Leao again, right? So we just didn't allow them to go in there and dictate much, right? And mind you, yes, they did have their half chances, if you want to call it that, which didn't amount to much. And then on top of that, I saw some positive plays, right? And like even if we are sitting back a bit, given the formation, um, but there were attempts, right, to go forward, and it's harder obviously to go forward when you know what I mean when you've just retrieved the ball, but now you have an extra man in the back line, so you have
Yeah.
a lesser option in looking to go forward, right? So and then what I felt was happening is the quality of the passes, given the player fatigue as well, was decreasing. So we just end up losing the ball, kind of thing,
Mm.
right? Um, but I still felt like we were pushing. And even the commentators saying it's like it looks, like Congo is almost looking to snatch the game, right? Um, until I think around when you're saying that, okay, we were looking to set up for the 1-1 draw. I did see that, but to me that was towards at least the 75th minute, around that point where you kind of realize, okay, the players are tired, they're not looking to go forward as much, right?
Mm.
And now they're looking to back off, right? Um, but apart from that, I felt like when that game was tied, even in coming the second half, At least to me, it looked like um, they're trying to put a certain effort forward to kind of like take that lead, right? Uh, but all in all, what I'm trying to say is that I think it's very important for a team, especially if you do not have the upper hand in the skill department, you have to figure out a way to take the other team out psychologically, right? And I think one of the best ways you do that is you do not make it comfortable for them, right? Like, because if you do that, then if you're letting them pass this, you see what I'm saying? Like, at some point they're just gonna get into a flow, right? And yeah, so
Hmm. No, that's fair. And obviously, again, we'll never know now, but my whole thing was, I think, you know how you were talking and you using metaphors about like landing the first punch, landing punches and whatever.
mm,
I think I would agree. Like, I think a lot of what the rival fans' perspective is, or like, obviously the haters and whatnot, like, I think that the perspective is like, I just want to remind those listening and those watching, right, or anybody who's bantering Arsenal for that final performance, is I think it sounds like, you're coming at it from the perspective of, yeah, but that game was 0-0 and you guys just defended like we had the lead. You see what I'm saying? And then that's what I keep saying is we landed that first punch. We just landed it early. And a lot of people were saying maybe to our detriment that we landed that punch too early because then it really forced us to defend for 90 minutes. But it's almost like you were expecting that goal to come that early. And so I think if I would I would be in agreement with a lot of you and maybe the opposing side's perspective of, oh, you guys defended, defended, defended. I think I would agree with that if it was 0-0, for majority of the match, and you're just hoping for a break. But I think because we got our big break early, it almost kind of forced us into what we know best is, and what's got us over the line for most of the season. It's, oh, we got the goal that we need. Let's hold it out, you know. Whereas if it was 0-0 for most of the game, it's I'd be thinking, guys, when are we going to try and land our punch properly? You know what I mean? We'll never know how that's going to look now, obviously. But I think I do, and I think I said this to you as well. I think the other common misconception of that game is that we defended for the whole game, but it was only up until from the time that we scored up until they got their penalty, the 60 something minute, whatever that was, that we were more so retreating and defending. After that, once it got level, and then here's where I'm bringing it back to the level playing field again, as you mentioned with the Congo Portugal game. At that point, the 60th minute when they scored their PK, it's level again, right? So we did indeed try. We weren't great at it because again, we don't necessarily have that personnel. We did try and come out afterwards. And some chances that we did try to create. Mind you, the chances were minimal, but also I think the chances were minimal on PSG's end, right? They didn't create too many clear-cut chances after that PK either. Um, so we tried to create our minimal chances, so much so that forget what the eye test showed us. You knew we tried to come out and change our tactics more when you saw the manager go to a 4-4-2, as I alluded to you in the group chat as well. We changed and we took off Odegaard and we tried to go 4-4-2 up top, which honestly at that time gave me a mini heart attack because I thought we were going to be too open. We did try and go with a Gyökeres and a Havertz up top. He didn't take off Havertz first. He took off Odegaard, and we tried to go at it with a Gyökeres and a Havertz up top. I think with Noni Madueke and Martinelli on the wings. And then I think at some point it was just Declan Rice and Noni Madu, sorry, not Noni, and Miles Lewis-Skelly in midfield in like a more 4-4-2 shape. So funny enough, you did see us try and come out more when we changed the shape and changed the personnel, which guess what? It did lead to PSG having two clear-cut chances that I remember on the break. Kvaratskhelia had one on the left wing, and I think Miles Lewis-Skelly made a last-ditch tackle that sent it out for a corner. And then I think almost in the last minute of the game, remember Barcola went on a break down the left and he hit the outside of the post
mm,
and it went out of bounds. And that only happens for them because we came out more, right? That's how those spaces opened up in behind for PSG because we were pushing men forward. We were trying to come out. So from the 60th, what I'm trying to say is from the 60th minute onwards, when that game went level, you did see us try and change it up. So it wasn't this whole duration of 90 minutes or 120 minutes that we defended the whole time. I don't think that is correct. But all that to say, again, I think that I did make the point that I don't, I don't, um, hate on Arteta for how he approached that final after we went 1-0 up. Because I think at that point you just got to lean on your strengths for what's carried you for most of the season. I don't think it would have been smart for us, as I've said to you many times, for us to go blow for blow, band for band with PSG in a basketball match and do what Bayern did and try and say, okay, our attack versus yours, who's got the better attack? Let's just go all out. We don't have that. It's like bringing in a knife to a gunfight, right? They had the firepower up top. We simply didn't. Again, with all due respect to my guys, I'm not trying to lean on a Trossard, a Martinelli, a Noni Madueke, even a half-fit Saka, right? These guys against their front three, it's just not. There's one winner in that every time if you try and go punch for punch back and forth. I think it was right for us to land our blow, and then maybe retreat into a more defensive shape. Not everybody likes that approach, but I think that's I don't think I would have changed anything different if I was a manager too, up until the point that we obviously conceded the pen. But listen, we're going back on a tangent and referring back to the Champions League final when that was done, I guess close to a month ago now. It is World Cup time now. So anything else you wanted to touch on that, or you want to move on?
Oh no, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no. Again, bringing it back to the World Cup because we are seeing that a lot. So people again who are wondering and listening, um, we're referencing this because again, Laurent brought it up in terms of you see these lesser sides having some bravery against the big teams, and I think the point that Laurent's trying to get across is just to don't allow these bigger sides, right? Even if you are the inferior team going into a match, don't allow the bigger sides to get that element of control or make it too comfortable um, for these teams to play, right? Show that bit of bravery, and I think we saw that in a couple of occasions from
Mhm,
these smaller nations at the World Cup. I think none more so than today. Cape Verde against Uruguay, a Uruguay who's considered a big powerhouse in football. Cape
mhm,
Verde definitely landed their punches today, right? They got a 2-2 draw, and I think a credible 2-2 draw against Uruguay. So they clearly showed no fear, right? Definitely in that instance.
mhm,
Um, and I think that's what, long may that continue. A lot of people question the new format of the World Cup. It's giving a chance to a lot of these sides that would never otherwise qualify, right? Your likes of Cape Verde and your likes of Curacao and Uzbekistan, Iraq, even Congo themselves, right? A lot of these sides don't really get a chance to play in the World Cup. And here they are now holding their own, right? Some would say, and in a lot of cases, they're holding their own and they're competing to some extent, putting some points on the board. So where you see, other big sides like Turkey, who's already out of the competition, and they had high
That is
hopes.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
That is actually. And did you hear how they when their send off apparently they were sent up in like this insane motorcade. I don't know if you heard about that.
No.
Yeah, like if you check Twitter, you'll see it. But
Hmm.
it's like these cars that were decked out in like Turkish flags and whatnot, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, there was like over 100 cars, and that's how they were sent off to the World Cup.
Wow.
And yeah, just to lose like that, and bro, 62 shots. All right, you talk about bravery. Listen, they were brave, but they
Not
just
clinical.
yeah, that 62 shots, zero goals, right? I think.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's it's
So
not
so
good.
that Turkey Paraguay game was actually one of my favorite games of the World Cup so far that I've watched at least.
Hmm.
Because did you watch it?
No, this one I did not see. No.
It was feisty from beginning to end. Like there was a lot on the line for both teams. You can see there's a lot of stoppage and play for mini confrontations and some
Mm,
scraps and stuff. It was a really scrappy, messy game. And there's a sending off in the game that I'm sure you know as well because you asked us about this in the group chat. So Almiron, former Premier League player, he got sent off for covering his mouth um, in a confrontation with the one of the Paraguay players. And again, you asked us this question in the group chat if we're here for that kind of stuff. Um, Let me just quickly go to because I want to make sure we're specific about what the sending off was for. So Miguel Almiron was sent off for violating a strict new rule that prohibits players from covering their mouths during on-field confrontations. Um, do I agree with that? Yeah, I'm here for that. I agree with it. Again, I think this stems off the back of because I had this conversation with somebody earlier who shall remain nameless. I don't want to expose them, but they were saying, "Oh, that's a silly rule. Now we're getting out of hand, etc." If it was really that bad, you know, he should be. Basically, what the person was saying to me was they should be getting sent off for what they said specifically to the opposing player, as opposed to just covering their mouth. But my argument against that was, well, we're never going to know what exactly was said, right? Like at that point, it becomes more of a legal thing, right? Like I can say that I said something. The opposing player is going to say that he said something else, and at that point it becomes he say, she say, who said what, this and that. To avoid all that, if they're covering your mouth, just send them off for, because if you're covering your mouth, you're trying to be slick. You're obviously trying to hide something, right? And I think this stems off of the PSG, not PSG, the Champions League with the Real Madrid and Benfica thing, right? That's where I mean, where when I'm marking back with the person that was saying this to me today, you can't say you're sending them off for what they said because again, it's so easy to deny what you said, right? How do you prove that? Then this becomes again a court of law thing, right? We're talking about football here, but in that instance, right, in the Real Madrid instance of Vinny Jr. versus the Benfica player, Vinny Jr. said, he ran to the officials and said, "Oh, this guy made maybe a racial slur against me," and the Benfica player will deny that and say, "Oh no, I didn't. I said X," but Vinny's saying that the player said Y. You know what I mean? So it becomes like he say, she say, and then at the end of the day, what's right? Who actually said what? What was actually said? You'll hear all these different things about what was actually said. To avoid all that, if you cover your mouth, right? Red card, send them off. I agree with it personally because that just avoids any he say, she say. We don't, who said this, who said that, forget it. If you're covering your mouth, you're obviously trying to hide something. If you're going to do that, stop being cheeky, stop trying to be smart. You get sent off for it. And that's personally why I agree with it. But yeah, you have a similar take on it. You agree with it as well?
Yeah, no, no, I agree. I think it's yeah, it's meant as a deterrent for anything that you can say that would be filed, in that regard. Um, so yeah, it's a good rule. It's a good rule, and it's a shame that the Vinny incident had to happen. And again, right, we don't know what was said, but it's one of those where if you're having to cover your mouth, you know what I'm saying, to say something,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's probably something you shouldn't be saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying, yeah, I'm sure it's not to say, yeah, the player has good boots or right, I can get your jersey at the end of no, you're not trying to do all that, right? So yeah, I agree.
That player Almiron is just lucky that it didn't cost Paraguay in the end. They still won the game, but I'm sure he's probably gonna get a stern talking to,
Mm.
probably from the manager, because he should know better, right? Apparently these players knew about this
Yeah, they
rule
were all
going in.
yeah, 100% they were all told about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like some of the new rules to be honest with you, that they're implementing in this World Cup. Like I like the goal kick rule, right? You take too long on a goal kick, it's automatically a corner kick for the other team, I believe. Um, I think there's a one about the throw-ins as well. If you take too long on a throw-in, so funny
Huh?
enough, as somebody who supports Arsenal Football Club in the dark arts, and some of the things that we've been doing this season,
Mm,
yeah, man, I like the rules around that too, man. Because even honestly, I get frustrated with my own team sometimes. Like, why are we taking so long on a throw-in? Just throw in the damn ball. Like, why are we trying to be extra cute about it?
yeah, yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you
I
do.
agree. I agree with it. I hope it gets implemented in the Premier League. I do.
Mm,
Whilst I can defend my team, I can also be critical and say, yo, sometimes we overdo it. I agree with that.
mm.
Um, so I hope these kind of things come to the Premier League. I'll tell you what I hope doesn't come to the Premier League is these ridiculous hydration breaks. Um, I'm curious
Uh,
to know your thoughts on that, but for me, it's very simple. Why are we trying to Americanize our sport, right? Only in America, but
bro,
like it's
these
ridiculous.
these Americans have got to stop. Listen, yeah, I'm about to give an open invitation to this podcast recording to any of you down south want to hop on and who have you know what they've been saying online?
Hmm.
That if America wins the World Cup, the sport is officially gonna be called soccer, not football. Bro, the nerve of these guys, bro. And they're trying to talk about almost like bragging about how big their stadiums are.
Hmm.
What else are they doing, bro? Like there's see what I'm saying? Like all crazy talk. Crazy talk out there. Like they think
They
there's
think they're
even one.
gonna win it based on their
Yeah,
first two games.
100% they think they're going to win it. And what's crazy, they even said, "Oh, just you wait." Like now that um America's performing like this, like all American kids are gonna want to play soccer, and if Americans start playing soccer, like we're elite. Like you know what I'm saying? We're gonna take over. Like, and I'm like, yo, do these guys actually hear what they're saying right now? Like, see what I'm saying? Like they think that because you're big, fast, and strong, and all that, that makes you a proper soccer player. Like,
Hmm.
nah, man, nah, man. It's like, yo, y'all got it twisted, bro. Like, your president has polluted your minds to thinking like this is that, bro. Nah, man. Nah.
All right, so we've just lost all of our American subscribers,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but listen, man, it is what it is, man. The truth needs to be said. It's true, man. It's I think they're getting too big for their boots there, so they need to just tone it down a notch or two. But yeah, man, the hydration break stuff, man, like breaking up our game into quarters. It's like, bro, what is this? You know what I mean? Like we already know what that's about, and I'm not gonna say too much because we don't need to get political on here, but we already know what that's all about, and it's nonsense. So hopefully this is not a thing that continues beyond this World Cup. Um, but anyways, speaking of politics and controversy, um, there was a game today, Belgium versus Iran specifically. That game ended 0-0. Belgium not getting off to a great start, to be honest, in this World Cup. Um, but yeah, as I was watching that game earlier and I was looking at the lineup and stuff, I was seeing one of their bigger players, a certain Jeremy Doku, wasn't in the lineup. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Online, I'm looking at you know, the I think the app that I use, FotMob, is it? Yeah, my FotMob app says, oh, Jeremy Doku's not in the lineup because of illness or whatever. So okay, fair enough. He's ill, whatever. Maybe there's a bug going around the camp. But you informed me otherwise and said that there's a certain reason why he wasn't in the matchday squad today. So yeah, you know more than me. You want to fill us in and on why that really was the case? Maybe he's not actually ill. I don't know. But yeah, what was the story behind Jeremy Doku's absence today for Belgium?
Yeah, so essentially, um, he's expecting his first child,
Mm.
and he has decided that it's in his best interest to go back home and be there for his wife, who's going to give birth. And that caused a whole storm of controversy. Uh, People saying that the World Cup is a once in a lifetime opportunity. What are you doing? A man doesn't need to be there for his wife during that time, this and that. So yeah, I think you call it a hot take. Not gonna lie, man. I've already started to ask the women in my life, what they expect of a man in this situation, and I think for the next week, I'm gonna just start asking random strangers what they would do in that situation, right? Man or woman, because yeah, it's again, people have different answers uh towards it. So yeah, CJ, what would you do? You know?
Wow, you should go first, man. Why are you asking me? Don't put me in the spotlight. I want to know your thoughts on this.
So I think okay, I do think it depends on oh man, it depends on a few factors. Um, One, I think it depends on the wife, right, and how she feels about it. Um, maybe she tells you, oh, it's okay, so you get the green light there. But at the same time, as a man, you gotta be smart. You see what I'm saying? Like you gotta use this because if your missus be telling you X, Y, and Z, sometimes it'd be A, B, and C, and you gotta read in between the lines, right? So, yeah, maybe she's telling you, yeah, you can go, but you kind of understand. Well, actually, she actually wants me to be there, right? And at the same time, too, right? Because a lot of people are saying, well, it's not his second or third child, it's the first one. You know what I'm saying? And for those of you who are lucky, to be the eldest, you know how special you are, right? Your parents tell you all the time, right? Because you're the first, right? The first Club World Cup winners, as some would say, right? So, sorry, I had to do that shamelessly, but yeah, no. So I think I would go. I would go back.
Wow, that surprises me.
I think I would go back.
First of all, happy Father's Day, everyone, to those who are fathers out there. It is Father's Day, at least on this neck of the woods. So happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to Murdad, specifically, one of our own on the podcast. So, you know, big him up. You guys dealing with twins, uh, three kids technically. So yeah, man. Don't know how you do it, sir, but good for you, man. Jeez. Um, but yeah, listen, bro. You're telling me, so basically what you're saying is, it sounds like you're almost saying, okay, like if the wife, basically this is dependent on the wife, but is there an element of Jeremy Doku, the player, and it being his decision as opposed to whatever wife he wants you to do? You know what I mean? Is there an element of it being his decision and whoever should support his decision? You know what I mean? As opposed to saying, okay, well, wife wants me to go or wife's telling me to stay. I'm just gonna do what wife wants me to do. You know what I mean? He's his own individual. Playing the devil's advocate here for a minute before everyone strikes me down or the women in our women, our female audience strikes me down, right? Is there an element of it just being his own decision whether he decides to stay or go, and you just have to back and support whatever he chooses to do? Because again, I know in most walks of life, right? You work, yeah, you're expected to get out of work, sorry, to go be there for the missus. She's giving birth, right? That's your child. But again, let's call a spade and be honest about the situation. This isn't specific. This isn't work in the sense. Yes, it's work in the sense that he gets paid or whatever. Actually, I don't even know. I know you get paid by your club, but do these national teams pay you to be at a tournament? I don't even know though for sure. But
No,
anyways,
I'm pretty sure
they get paid, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, anyways, this is his job, but it's not your 9 to 5. This is this is you're playing for your country in a World Cup, which is a very unique situation. It's even more unique because you're never going to have a first child ever again. Well, you may never play in a World Cup ever again. This is a very tough spot he's in to be in. What do you choose? So it's almost like in either instance, whatever you choose should be supported, some would say. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tough one, right? So, but coming full circle again to what you mentioned there, like again, a lot of it sounded like you were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like you were saying that whatever kind of wife he wants him to do, whatever she's saying he should do is was kind of how he should move about it. But is there an element of it just being his choice? Should it be his choice what he wants to do? Forget,
No, 100%.
yeah,
Yeah, no, 100%. Um, right. There's also an element of him choosing. Um, and as well, right? Again, like when you're in a relationship, right? I assume most people make decisions not solely on base what they want to do, kind of thing, right? You factor in um, these other factors, right? But for me, honestly, bro, the way I look at it, at the end of the day, right? And I actually told someone something similar to what I'm about to say now the other day. But think about it this way: those fans, everyone that is talking behind their keyboard, right? Have personally never met Jeremy Doku saying that. Some people are even comparing this is like war. You know what I mean? Like you're on the front lines, you're a soldier. First of all, no, it's not. All right, we're not even gonna go there. See what I'm saying? There's no casualties, loss of life involved in any of this, right? So it's not that big. But if Jeremy Doku falls sick tomorrow, right? Loses everything and all of that. Are you guys gonna be the ones there? You see what I'm saying? At his side, like just like think about it that way, from purely perspective point of view, right? No, you're not. You see what I'm saying? No, you're not. So I think right when you kind of just ship it in that light that yes, World Cup is important as a nationalism, right? There's a lot of people behind it. It's a business, all of that. But some would argue that family is the most important thing. You see what I'm saying? Because when
yeah,
you hit your lows, when
that's
you have
true.
nothing, those are the people that are there with you. Bro, even Pogba said it. When Pogba was, I think he was banned from playing, right? Correct? Or, right? He was out.
Yeah, for a while, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And he mentioned it that, bro, he looked around and everyone, like most people turned on him. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like the people that
Mm,
he was so used to being there with him, he's getting invited to all these events. And suddenly now, because your name is not relevant anymore, right?
mm.
People just don't know you from a can of paint. And who did he say was it? Well, it was his wife. Like, I don't know if it was his girlfriend at the time, right? So yeah, when you kind of put it into perspective, right? You kind of realize how important family is, right? That bro, you can win the World Cup, and in a lot of countries too, right? Let's be real. You can win the World Cup. For a lot of these guys, you perform bad the next World Cup, and suddenly they want nothing to do with you. So it's like, what the fuck do you want from me, bro? Like, right? But my family is supposed to be the people that are there with me till the end, right? Even if I have nothing, like nothing to my name. So yeah, I think he made the right decision.
That's that's deep, bro. Real talk. That's deep. Still, pause. Um, no, for real, man. You said that was actually really well said. Like all jokes aside, that was really well said. I agree with that, and that's a good perspective to look at it as because at the end of the day, when you put it that way, it's actually almost no contest, right? Family over everything, common
Mhm.
expression, right? So technically, it actually should be no contest. At the end of the day, yes, this is football, the World Cup, etc. And as I started off the podcast by saying, a lot of people treat football like literally is their life, right? Bigger than anything else. But at the end of the day, like you said, who's going to be there for you in the end, right? It's the family, and that's very, very true. Ultimately, you know. Um, no, I think that's well said. Well said still.
Thank
So
you.
yeah. Um, at the end of the day, yeah, those who are critical of Jeremy Doku, those who are supportive of Jeremy Doku, the end of the day, the decision is his own, and he's gonna have to live with it, man. He's a grown man. He's gonna live with that decision, and yeah, at the end of the day, hopefully he's not being scapegoated, right? For because you can see that happening. Hopefully he's not being scapegoated for Belgium's poor result today. And let's call it what it is. I think it is a poor result. They're the favorites, I think, in that group. They're one of the, quote unquote powerhouse nations on paper. Um, Yet to pick up a win. So they're 0-2 right now so far in the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. On the brink of facing elimination potentially if they don't get their act together soon. So who knows, man? Who knows what happens? Let's see what happens in the next 24 hours. Like could Jeremy Doku be a scapegoat? Because like you said, in this case too, it could be now one of those where um like you said, your nation can turn on you. And not to get too political and too deep into these things again, but we see this is the sad reality of international football. Let's be honest, especially if you're of a certain color. Um, when you win, I'm gonna bring it to France for a second, and even England, right? When you win, you're French, you're English, right? When you lose or don't perform well, you're from wherever native country you're from, right? So honestly speaking, I hope this doesn't happen in Jeremy Doku's case because it seemed like this was a situation that he was never gonna win in, right?
Mm,
Belgium don't win today, all of a sudden is Doku a scapegoat in the country, you know?
right, right.
Let's hope not, but yeah, it is what it is. So. Listen, folks, sorry not to get too deep into these topics, but yeah, man, sometimes there are bigger life topics that you got to cover and talk about. I don't think we're not all just banter and jokes on this podcast. We can get serious if needs be, and we can get deep on certain topics, pause if need be. So, yeah, man, big up Laurent for giving us some wise words of wisdom, honestly, about family. And the moral of the story, folks, is family over everything, and it's the truth, So the people who are there by your side in your darkest times. So. Yeah, man. I think it was good. Anything else we got to cover? I mean, where are we? Before you know it, we're an hour in, man. Time flies, and
Yeah,
we
no.
spoke a lot of good stuff, man. But anything else you want to cover before we sign off?
I think there's not much. I mean, again, we'll have the opportunity with our next recordings to cover a few more things. I think so far World Cup is exciting.
Yeah,
Um, I'm just wondering who's the next big team to go. Because I think a lot of these teams are taken very lightly. Ecuador is in a tough position, right? I don't know if you've seen
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I have an Ecuadorian friend. He's fucking nervous as hell, bro. Like
Mm.
telling you, man, if they don't beat Germany, those guys, those Ecuadorian fans are gonna lose it, in my opinion, right? Because they have a solid team. I think it's just
Just the attack. Yeah.
the attack. But yeah, but all in all, man, thanks to everyone who's tuned in thus far. Again, like, subscribe, share. Check it out us out on the socials. And yeah, man, it's always a pleasure being here and hosting this for you guys.
Yes, sir. Well said. And if we can leave you guys with anything today, remember, family over everything. And after review, Arsenal are your Premier League champions, 2026.
Ah!
Adios.
You